You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jordan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. Success. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jordan.
Boom! That's exactly it.
Do that. Let's do that.
Woo! Look out, because I'm just in an exceptionally good mood today. My bride is out of town for a week, which isn't not for a good reason though. My mother-in-law, this is one of 16 children, and she's like 80, and so all her siblings. She lost 6 siblings last year, and just lost another one this year. So now they're at the funeral in Maryland.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, but it's you know what? You're 1,000 years old. I mean, that's the way it works.
Yeah, we don't get out of this thing alive.
That's where it works.
No one yet has lived forever. So
I'm all alone, which means that I could wake up early and be loud in the morning, and that's what I do. So I'm going out like exercising and working and stuff. And when I exercise, when you get out there and move. This is what people need to know. You people out there need to know this. If you want to get a creative thought, go for a walk. I mean, the worst thing that'll happen is that you went for a walk. Like nothing bad ever happens to you, in the woods going for a walk. You're not going to make your problems any worse with a walk. They most likely will get better, but they'll never get worse. So it's just a good thing to do. And I was thinking, this is what I was thinking, Chris Stone. I was thinking, the most powerful thing in the world is choosing the right words to say. You could make anything happen. The only difference between a $100 bill and a $10,000 bill is the words and the pictures that are on it. I mean, other than that,
zeros, really.
Yeah, it's the same thing. There's a different, like you could send a letter to your mother saying, Mom, I love you. I'm so glad that you're my mother. I feel everybody else is jealous of me that they didn't have you as a mother. And I just want to wish you a long, healthy rest of your life, just saying I'm proud to be your son. Or you could send your mother a letter saying, I hate you. I can't believe that you're my mom. It's the worst thing. I'm jealous of everybody else that they have better mothers than I do. Unfaithfully yours, your hateful son. The envelope is the same. The stamp is the same. The address is the same. There's roughly the same amount of words. The only thing different was the words on there. You have a completely different result. And
Dan,
yeah,
it's 2022.
Yeah.
Nobody writes letters anymore.
Right. Well, what they do, however, is they still need to communicate.
Right.
And they need to communicate with the right words and the right message. And if you don't have the right message, nobody wants to listen. They just walk out of the room. And it just so happens, Christo, that we happen to have a guest today that has mastered not only the ability to communicate to vast audiences, but to help other people get those gigs to spread their message. What do you think of that for a segue? So without any further ado, please help me welcome my friend, Orly Amor.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Orly Amor, you had one job to do.
And I did.
And that was be prepared with your arms up before we go.
Arms. I mean, I didn't even see myself come on the screen.
Okay.
You know what we should do, Dan? We should
What?
practice, like actually do an actual rehearsal backstage before this, because
Well, you know,
we're going to take the blame on that one, Orly. That's on us.
Okay.
That's on us.
Well, you
We'll
know,
take the blame.
Orly's a real pro, and so she actually sent me an introduction of which I completely disregard. But I want to give it to you right now because I think we could spin off this, and anybody watching just to know that Orly is the real deal here. So I'm just going to read it here within passion. Orly is a successful entrepreneur who has started 5 companies as a corporate trainer, a best-selling author, an international public speaker. She's helped over 200,000 people around the world maximize their bottom line by tripling and quadrupling sales. She just whizzed right past doubling right there. And extensive experience in Certified Behavior Analyst, which all we know here on the Dan Jordan Live Show is CBA. Anyway, it's made her an indispensable coach, and that's what I want to talk to you about. So please help me welcome, now we're going to do it again, arms in the air, Miss Orly Amor.
Woohoo! So excited to be here.
All right. And the crowd is going wild. Orly, we spoke the other day on the phone, and you said something that piqued my interest, and the reason why you're here, that during the whole C virus action, I call it the virus that shall not be named, you managed, you said you got, what did you say? You got cabin fever?
Yeah, I got cabin fever, but I tripled my business, so it's not so bad.
Yeah.
That's a good fever to get.
So talk to me. How did that happen? What did you do? How did you react to that type of change that was going on societally?
I didn't. That's the whole point. I didn't react. I didn't watch TV. I wasn't in the realm of the negativity and the boo-hoo-hoo. We are all secluded in our house. It's like a prison. Or, I didn't go into that mode of panic. Or, during March of 2020, my phone was blowing up with all my clients that I haven't spoken to them in 10 years. And everybody was like, oh my God, Orly, what do I do? And I'm like, just continue the process. I'm doing it, They didn't understand what was really going on in the industry. And so I was explaining to them, as you know, Dan, I wrote this book behind me, and I actually interviewed over 3,400 event planners for this book that came out in December of 2019, about a year after you and I met. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to know what's going on.
Yes. Okay. So what did you do when you said you had cabin fever? So what did you do?
Well, I have a beautiful backyard, so I went outside to breathe some fresh air and came back in. But I was wearing my mask. I was keeping social distancing, whatever, because one lady yelled at this other lady in Walgreens, saying to her, social distancing is a real thing. It's called social distancing. I'm like, I never heard of it before. But okay, I guess that's a little bit of space, which I need anyway, so move away.
Well, but were you traveling? I mean, how were you getting around?
No, not during 2020. 2020, I did not travel much, but when I did, I drove. And then came to September, and during all of it, since COVID, and when we were able to at least take our car anywhere, I drove to all my speaking engagements if they were live. Mm-hmm. And if not, then I did it on Zoom. But in 2021, September 4th, 2021, I went on a cross-country drive, and everybody was like, where's Orly? It was like where's Waldo, and everybody was like, oh, let's write a book about it. Where's Orly? I was in different time zones. I was in different places. I did 50,000 miles on my car.
Dang. That's good.
I mean,
just driving in circles, or where did you end up?
So from New York, I went to Ohio, I went to Michigan, I went to Minnesota. I did a couple of bucket list things. I went to Mount Rushmore, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Irving, California, then San Diego, California, then Dallas, then El Paso, then back to Dallas, then back to Florida. I mean, I just did, and then North Carolina, South Carolina. I had a blast.
Now, what was your favorite spot that you spent?
Well, there were two things that I did. I took off my bucket list, which was really fun. One is, I don't know if you know of the Golden Girls, but I was a big fan of the Golden Girls, and Rose came from St. Olaf, Minnesota. So I went out of my way 4 hours to go to St. Olaf, Minnesota, so I can take a picture with the sign. That was on my bucket list. And and the second thing was get to Mount Rushmore, which was also on my bucket list. I'm tired of waiting for other people to go with me or to say, hey, let's go. I just go. They're with me or they're not. It's okay. I'm good by traveling by myself.
So you did the entire trip, all 50,000 miles on your car by yourself.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would imagine there's tons of things that you learned about yourself on this,
Absolutely.
on this. What are some of the things that you learned by just being, I need people around me, being by myself for very long. And, but you do learn a lot about yourself. What are some of the things that you learned?
Well, because of my story and my background, I would tell you that the world is not such a bad place. People are nice. People look to be nice and included. I broke down a couple of times. I had people helping me. I learned to trust. People are not all bad. It's, people are making it, oh my God, you're a woman traveling by yourself with your history. You should actually be afraid and not go out and lock the doors when you're in the car and all that nonsense that, I found out it's bad if you keep it that way, but it's not bad because the reality is people are really nice and giving and generous. And that's why I love this country. I became an American citizen on the 15th of July, 2021. And so just before this trip, and I can tell you, I'm the proudest American that can be because this country is beautiful and the people in it as well.
Yeah, well, it's the people that make it beautiful. I mean,
exactly.
you can get you can get landscapes anywhere. Well, now, were you out traveling on doing speaking gigs or just meeting?
I was speaking. I was doing my own events. I was doing a lot of networking as well. Meeting some of my clients in person for the first time was awesome. Even Dan, I didn't meet in person yet.
Yeah, that's by the way, that's something that salespeople need to kind of recognize. A lot of times we're doing business with people all over the country and the world.
And the world.
So as you're traveling around, the first thing you should do is go get your customers and take a look at your client list or whatever, and just pop in and meet them. It's something you meet somebody, you have a client in England, and you just say, hey, I'm going there. Can I stop in and just say hi to you? They'll tell all their friends. They'll take you out. They'll feed you. I mean, everything's great. He's from America. Come on out,
It's
or
exactly
in Orly's
what
case,
happened.
she's from the world. She's an international travel. So international traveling, you talked a little bit about your history earlier. Just give us some tidbits if you can.
No, sure. I mean, first, my history as far as my personal story, I'll give you in 18 seconds. I was a beaten up child. I was molested 4 times before the age of 14. I was raped 3 times before the age of 22, twice gang raped, 9 months apart, left for dead. I was married to a very abusive husband, both mentally and physically. And as a result of that, I gained a morbid amount of weight and I had 4 abortions. I was 428 pounds at my heaviest. But internationally, and I'll let you sit with that because I'm not here for pity or anything like that. I am a very happy camper and every day above ground is a good day. So very grateful to be here and as well as above ground every day.
To be honest with you, I don't think I could have handled more than 18 seconds. Okay, so let's move on.
I traveled the world as a speaker. I've been to now 28 countries and 18 states so far. But speaking of travel, I traveled last May and June. I went into Europe for 6 weeks. I was speaking in Sweden for the first time, in Denmark, and Istanbul and Israel. And you're right about what you said, Dan. People who know me from different networking groups and so on, they all came out. They came out to see me. They came to meet me at the train and like made my life much easier. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that's and because you're giving them something. It's not like you're taking from them. I'm equating this with salespeople because people always want to stay away. But when you're actually making a special effort to see somebody, you're giving them a story for the rest of their lives. I learned this on my hitchhiking trip. It was very easy to get rides, but I knew I had a job once there. You can't just sit there and not talk. They are there to sit at their dinner table and say, look how good I am. I picked up this hitchhiker. Let me tell you his story.
That's amazing. That's
You know,
awesome.
and
Yes.
so I didn't have to tell them your story.
No. I
Oh,
think
Dan, you look
Is
like
that me or you?
no, Dan, you're frozen.
you're frozen. You
But
know,
you're
it could have
frozen
been
in a good
stuck in
way,
a
which is not bad.
right. Dan has a pretty good resting face. So yeah, it's there. Now you're back,
there you
Dan.
go.
You're a little grainy, but
Okay,
you're
what
with
the
us.
heck was that?
I don't know.
Did
you're
Did I
still
just have a
drinking.
stroke or something?
Yes, so it was a virtual one, if any.
So Orly Amor, I've just so
We got to stop
when
laughing at
you
things that aren't funny.
helping.
There.
Now
Now we
that's
have a
Is this
worse
my
face.
is this my internet that's all
yes,
fucked?
yes, it's your internet.
What do you think, Orly?
Yeah, pretty much. You got it. You got
Talk
it down
amongst
pat. Yeah, no,
yourselves.
totally. I'm not gonna do that though. So we can all look alike, kind of.
Yeah, Dan, you know what I would suggest is to pop off and then back
Okay,
on.
I will do that.
Yeah,
I'm
do
sorry.
the June Klein.
Talk amongst yourselves.
We try.
Okay.
We try.
Okay.
So Orly, you prefaced that intro about your history and said, I'm going to tell you about this in 18 seconds. And you know, there's something about that when someone says that, it softens what's going to come afterneath, and it's so that afterneath what comes after what you say,
Right.
and so you knew that what you were going to say, obviously, and you had rehearsed that, I'm sure. But it's to me when I heard I'm going to tell you in 18 seconds, it just was like, oh, this is going to be quick. It's not going to be some long rambling thing. But
Right.
what you said caught my attention, and I listened. And you could have gone for 45 seconds, a minute and a half.
Yeah.
But I mean, you were right around the 18-second mark. And speaking of a mark, he's
right.
back.
There's Amor. So Orly Amor, I don't know I'm just going to repeat what I said, but anyway, so impressed with you. So there's people out there, lots of people who want to be speakers and want to get out there and speak, and they want to share their message or whatever, don't necessarily have a story similar to yours to tell that get people interested. But why don't you tell us what you speak of, why people come and what people get out of it, and so other people who are attempting to be speakers, we could see if we could help their story, so they could share a message that people would listen to.
So, I'm a business coach for public speakers, and I used to also business coach CEOs of Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies. And what I see in the spectrum of all of that is that there's a lot of coaches and mentors, and I like to call myself a mentor, by the way, because in my definition of a mentor has an emotional vested interest in your success. So what I show people is how to get paid for their information, it's not a competition of stories. They don't have to have my story. I would like them to more think about their own life. Basically, what age are they at? And I don't care how old they are, but whatever they've been through, and until this point, they've paid for what they went through. They paid for it through experience, through money, blood, sweat, tears, aggravation, ups and downs in their businesses, in their life. And that's a story. And that's also called intellectual property. So I believe people need to be paid for it. No matter what walk of life they come from, nobody can tell their story like they can. Like you were talking about taking a walk and how beautiful it is and how your creative thoughts can be. Well, guess what? That's information for somebody to say, you know what? I should do that too. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a story on its own. And I'm sure you can talk about it for a while, Dan Jordan, because I know you. But my point here is that everybody should tell their story. And my TEDx talk that's coming up is all about not taking your story to the grave. Because at one point or another, and if you would like, I'll share that story with you in a minute, but you'll let me know if we have time. That story that you would tell anyone that's listening, it's going to change their life. And in that sharing, there's contribution. You just don't know whose life you're going to change. So everybody should be speaking.
Well, I mean, that sounds like preaching, though.
Not at all.
You know, I mean, that's it
Not
doesn't.
at all.
Okay.
The reason it's not preaching is because I'm not speaking at you, I'm speaking to you. And when you speak to someone, you're not speaking at them. You should praise God that this is the life you were meant to live. That would be preaching. I am not preaching at you. I'm just saying, here is some thought, food for thought. Think about it. It is you. We have the gift of will, and we should use it.
So what? Okay, well, so now you can't just tempt us with that story and then not release the tension.
Well, if we have if we have the time.
This is good. You could practice your TEDx speech here.
No, that's too long. But let me tell you a very short story of my pivotal point. I was in property management for 25 years, and I wrote a couple of books on the subject matter. I was Businesswoman of the Year, blah, blah, blah. And one day, one of my friends called me and said, I'd like you to come and speak at this women's shelter. And I said, what do you want me to speak about? And she said, well, I want you to tell your story. And I said, are you nuts? Like, I'm not doing that. You're crazy. And she called, I don't know if you have an annoying friend, but I have an annoying friend. And she called every single day for 3 weeks asking me to get this talk done. And I said, okay, what do I have to do to get you off my phone? She said, well, for you to say yes. And I said, well, why me? There's other people that speak about this topic. And she said, well, you have this bubbly personality. People love you. Everywhere we go, people hug you. People don't even know you hug you. And you're living a lifestyle that most people dream about. So I want you to just come and tell your story. Give these women hope. So I relented. I said yes. 3 months later, I'm speaking at this shelter. Very fast forward, I also hired a coach because I didn't know how to do this. And while I was speaking to these 170 people, after I was done, there was not one dry eye in the place. And so when I got off the stage, people were doing something very different for me than as a speaker in the property management world. I did not ever experience this type of reaction where people were thanking me and crying on my shoulder and hugging me. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for giving me hope. And then there's one lady that came up to me and she was crying profusely. We were trying to calm her down. So back and forth we went. She said, no, you don't understand. I said, no, I do understand. You need to breathe. And back and forth until she yelled at me, no, you don't understand. And then she took a piece of paper out of her pocket and she showed it to me and she said, this is how I was going to kill myself this morning. I don't even remember driving from the shelter from my house to the shelter, but I heard you speak and I want to live. I just need you to show me how.
Wow.
And so when you're thinking that your story doesn't matter, you just don't know who's in the audience looking for that inspiration, maybe not motivation, which is preaching, I believe. And so the inspiration to do something about their life or to move forward in their life is a big deal. And so I encourage people to share their story, whether they're an entrepreneur looking to get more clients, a salesperson. Share your vulnerability. People do want to know that, and it will actually make you more approachable and more relatable. Therefore, you can close the deal and sell.
Well,
wow. That is an incredible story. So what would you say to someone that hears this yet feels they don't, like you said, don't have a story, and they just, and then you say, well, you need to share, you need to be vulnerable, but then they have that apprehension, that fear, maybe what went through your mind when you had that friend saying, you need to share this story here, you need to do this.
Yeah,
what went over what put you over the edge to actually do that, and what would help someone that maybe in the same spot?
Maybe thinking that it's not about me. It's not about you and your story. It's not about, I did feel for a long time that if I shared my story, I would be scrutinized and judged and dissected, to the core. And then I also found compassion and understanding and empathy from people. So it wasn't so bad. But what you asked me is, what would I say to somebody? That it's not about you, it's about the bigger picture. And if you just go with that, I know public speaking is the number one fear, from like next to death, right? And so practice in a way to maybe just share something exciting or something fun about what happened to you. It doesn't always have to be gloom and doom. And that's what I tell people who are successful, who have never had a gloom and doom boohoo story, whatever it was, or a challenge. But everybody's been through challenges. And that's what people need to understand, is that we all are going through something. Bill Gates is going through something. The millionaires, billionaires of the world are all going through something. They have a challenge. I don't know what it is, but they all have one.
Yeah, and it's true, and it's very relatable, even for the mundane. For instance, let's say you're out for a walk and you're like 2.5 miles out and nature calls, but not the one that a guy can easily do. And so then there's that other thing, and it's in the morning and you're just on the street. It's not like you're anywhere you could do any, what do you do? And so, there's a story to listen. And I know I'm not going to take it any further, though I can, but I'm not going. But the point is, everybody can kind of relate to that story. And that really, that's why you're laughing. That's why you're chuckling. And
no, I'm chuckling, imagining the rest of your story.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. I know,
The secret is, whenever you go for a walk or whenever you go for a run,
yeah,
flushable wipes. Just a little in your pocket.
Oh, really? So crunchy leaves and pine straw is not the...
No, not exactly hygienic.
Okay.
No.
Right.
You can hurt yourself.
Okay.
This is a guy who's trained for 4 marathons.
Oh,
So when you're
okay.
out running for 20 plus miles on a Saturday
Really?
morning,
You see, now, so by being vulnerable, you can learn something from
There you
people, and that's what happens. And as soon as,
and both people that are watching the show right now, Orly, are learning that as well.
Yeah.
So
I know. Thank goodness for recordings.
yes,
But
team replay.
but the thing is, when you can give a presentation, I always tell this to people, and the person in the audience can see themselves in the story, you got people where you want them, and that's where you could change when they start thinking about themselves. That's when things change. Okay, awesome. So tell me something. You said 425 pounds. How did you lose 400? How'd you lose all that
didn't
weight?
lose. I lost 230 pounds.
How'd you lose 230? I mean, you didn't just lose it. You just threw it away. It's just gone. It's
So why?
You lost
you're not
2
even,
people, basically.
some people lose the weight and then spend the rest of their life looking for it, and they keep going again.
Oh, he's gonna. You know what I love about Dan? He's always been that way. I've known him for 4 years. He's hysterical. I've never seen him different.
Yeah, that's it. That's
My
what you
cheeks
get.
are hurting me.
That's what you get. All right. So no, really, I mean, that's something that can help people. What is aside from the mindset? Oh, well, maybe it is mindset. Tell me, how does somebody get started on a big task that maybe they failed many times before? How do you inspire them? How is one inspired to keep going after many, many failures?
Well, I'm going to answer this in 2 ways. One is that, first of all, is to decide, do you want to live this way for the rest of your life? You need to decide on it, if you know, and you always know what to do too. Even when you know what to do, you don't do it. Therefore, information is great. If you hear it again, it's confirmation. But unless you implement it, nothing will move. And Dan, you have no idea about this, but I'll tell you a story that it happened with you when we were working together. So.
Really?
Yes, and it was amazing. I still share that story, even though you're not doing it anymore, but I'm going to share it because it's a great story. And
Please
it's
tell
fun
me
and
it doesn't have anything to
inspirational.
do with going to the bathroom in the woods.
No, not at all.
Okay,
Not at
good.
all.
Okay,
So,
good.
my guarantee is that people will make 150K their first year in public speaking if they do the process. So when Dan finished the program, he basically said, you know what, I'm going on vacation with my family, so I'm going to take a week off. And when I come back, I'll start the process. And this was middle of June 2018. So I'm going to tell you, this is hysterical. And
by the way, we're all hearing this for the first time because I have
no,
no
but
idea.
well, you lived it, but you don't. You might not remember it. But
This is glorious.
I'll say
I
a
love it
couple of
already.
things it'll tell you. Anyway, so anytime Dan would call me, it was like Orly Amor, and I would say Dan Jordan, and that was our thing. Okay. Anyway, so he calls me after he comes back from his vacation. He's like, you know what? It's summertime. Everybody's on vacation. I'm not gonna start the process now. I'll wait 3 months. I'll start in September. And I said, Dan, I guarantee this 1 year thing, right? And you have to get to work. You can't take 3 months off. There are no seasons in public speaking. So he's like, I better get to work, huh? I said, yep. And so I hear from him the 25th of July that year. Why do I remember it? I was driving in Ohio going to a speaking gig. And so Dan calls me up and he's like, Orly Amor. I'm like, Dan Jordan. And he's like, you'll never believe what happened. I'm like, what happened? He said, I sent out 728 emails. I got 298 back, and I got hired for a few speaking gigs in August and September, and I'm doing my own event like you told me to, and there's 38 people signed up. And I'm thinking, oh, and you wanted to take the summer off. He's like, well, I better get to work, huh? And I'm like, okay. And so by telling you this is because he was implementing what was taught. He wasn't just, oh, okay, let me sit on my lapel. Somebody will hire me to speak, right? This is a true conversation. And so I tell that story. It was awesome.
I'm an implementer.
Yes, you are. And that's what makes you successful. Even the fact that you walk your talk, remember that, because, a lot of people say a lot of things and they don't do what they say. So people are listening and then, well, shit doesn't work. Sorry for my language, but that's what they say, right? And so we need to implement what we learn. And that's what makes us different. So same thing for the diet, same thing for anything we want in life. We got to implement what we learned. So what I did is drastically cut soda. I don't eat after 7 p.m. I do this intermittent fasting now, but in the old days or in those days when I did a gastric bypass too, I went drastic. Oh. But you know what? I started gaining the weight back. Most people gain all of it back plus. Mm-hmm. So it's not a quick fix. Actually, it's a problem. But if you don't change your mindset and you don't start implementing what doesn't serve you, I cut bread, I cut, eating late at night, I cut soda, I've never drank soda after that. Maybe once a year I'll have a Diet Coke, but that's and even then it tastes awful because I'm so not used to it anymore. And so implementation is really what works, whether you want to lose weight or make more money or get out there and speak, same thing.
That is,
I love that.
Just so dead on. And sometimes it's just do what you already know you ought to do.
Well, that's it. I mean, people, you understand if you want to get in shape or lose weight, you eat less and exercise. Yet people eat more and don't exercise. They know it, but they still don't do it.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go.
Which is what I'll do. But, a lot of it, all of it works and none of it works. Like if you because there's a lot of people say, oh, not eating is 10 times more important than exercising, or exercising is 10 times more important than not eating. But whatever it is, everything feeds on each other. My grandmother, Grammy, I think that was her official name, Grammy.
Shout out to Grammy.
Yeah, good old Grammy. She was like the favorite grandmother always. So every child, you know how Jews do that, Orly Amor, where you name your someone who just recently died, you name the kids after their, that. And so everybody was named with Anne with an A in their name somewhere, for Grammy. But Grammy never ever gave me any advice whatsoever. She was just one big ball of love. She was just like the grandmother, like you would think, is just, you're there, anything you want. butter your toast all the way to the end. You know, she wouldn't leave a, you know, so it's her thing. But one time she said this, she said, Danny, floss your teeth. I go, what? She goes, just floss your teeth. She goes, nobody flosses their teeth. He goes, if you floss your teeth, it's one little thing that you're doing and you're better. And you're just a little better. And that little thing will lead you to do other small little things to keep going. So they're small. So, you know, exercising, man, just take a walk, like I said,
Sure.
and you'll find yourself running up a hill just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, just take a walk and you'll find yourself eating better. You know, it's small success. Jim Rohn used to say this, Orly Amor, you probably know this. He said the definition of success are simple little disciplines practiced every day.
Yeah, wake up, make your bed.
That's it.
Little victory.
Yeah.
Right? Then you
Yeah,
stack
good.
them.
And now I, in particular, talk about implementation all across the nation. I have my Franklin planner.
Shout out to Franklin Covey.
Yes. And not only do I like mark the things that I have to do, but I prioritize them, A, B, and C. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like, what are we? DJ Live. We're a B7. So
B7.
we're a B7.
What are we playing? DJ Live Bingo now?
I've had a
what is
busy
B7?
day. Yeah. We're a B7.
Do you like to play bingo, Orly?
I don't even know what bango is.
You don't know what bingo is?
By the way-
bingo or bango? What is
Bingo.
Bingo.
We don't say bingo.
Yes.
We say bingo bango when we're
Yeah.
like bingo, bango, bango.
Yes, I do know. Yes,
No,
I do
play
know.
bingo. Okay, I was like, do we not? Do we need to have
No,
a bingo?
bingo. No, I get it. I
conversation?
get it. Bingo. I heard that.
B8 is Cook, by the way. When I was on my walk this morning and I was taking out, I went by the Kroger and I went in there. It was like 6 a.m. and I went there and you go in the back and they have like the meat that's just about to go bad. So if it was $25, now it's like $5. So I got a brisket. And so I can't wait to, I have it all. I came home and I marinated it and now I'm going to put it in the Instant Pot because my wife isn't here. And so now I got to cook. I
love how you go for the meat that's about to expire.
Oh yeah, it's about you have to cut off the brown fat on the outside.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm glad you're
Well, you
citing
didn't
the
do
brown
that.
fat.
You know what? I think that builds character. When you were, I mean, listen, we didn't have a lot of money when we were a kid, but it wasn't unusual to get like bologna and
Yes.
cut off the brown on the outside and just
Yes,
eat
yes,
Yeah, you used to do that too. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You're resourceful.
So
yeah.
Orly Amor, you may not know this, speaks like 35 languages.
Really?
Yeah.
I speak a few languages. I speak Hebrew, French, and English perfectly, read and write.
Yes.
And I speak Spanish and Greek conversational. Moroccan and Egyptian Arabic, I understand more than I speak it now because I have not used them. I used to speak German fluently, but I don't speak it anymore. I do understand a little bit and I can speak a few words. And now I'm learning Japanese, Dan, so we're cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you? I hate when people say something in
Yeah,
Japanese.
say something. Well, arigato is where I can get, but
yeah.
I'm learning to write at the same time as I'm learning to speak. So it's kind of, I'm not there yet with any. I just started very shortly.
Okay.
I used.
Is that something, or language is something that just come to you? You know, some people just get languages. Other people get numbers.
I've always been passionate about languages because as a child, I used to like to sit with the adult table instead of the children's table in the family reunion.
I did the same thing.
So when I used to sit with my mom, she used to say, "Shh, you can sit here and listen, but you can't speak." And then they would change the language on me. So then I didn't understand what they were saying. And so I decided that I'm going to tune in. And then languages have become a passion because I want to always know if people are talking about me. That's where it came from.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, you know, it's a good thing also just to know that you can kind of understand anybody if they speak with an accent or something. I've been able to understand.
Oh, I've had people do that all the time. They'll be talking English and then all of a sudden they look over at each other and they'll be like, and I'll be like, oh, they're talking about me.
Yeah.
I really wish I knew what they were saying.
Well, we used to teach that in car sales. By the way, I got a gig on Friday for a car company, you know, their sales meeting stuff. But it was always good to learn Spanish in car sales, but never speak it. Or it's great. I used to know a guy who learned Korean, but would never speak it. But he'd be able to understand it. So when his people came in, got a little inside information there, which is all very good. Okay, so tell me what's your gig now? Where can somebody find you? How can you best help people, or who's your best client?
Entrepreneurs, public speakers, and coaches who want to get out there with their message to one-to-many instead of one-on-one. It's exhausting to do one-on-one. One-to-many, as you know, Dan, it's so much better, so much more fun, right? One of the premises that I have, and I am the only one in the world that guarantees them 150K in their first year in public speaking, in writing. Nobody else does that. And I'm very proud of it. And when people ask me, well, how do you do that? Why, how do you guarantee? It's only because if I can guarantee somebody a job at McDonald's, can I guarantee they'll get at least minimum wage? And the answer is yes. So in public speaking, speaker training, speaking gigs, 150K is minimum wage in public speaking. In fact, right now we are 1 million speakers short in the world, 1 million coaches short in the world. And what's really missing is variety, diversity, and women speakers. So the next speaker
came to the right place, because we got Chris and I both are in the midst of transition. Okay. So it's gonna be, so we got that going for us.
Yeah, and so it's really cool.
We're in the midst of
transition.
Know what you say. I don't know if I'm going to touch that one.
You freaking people. Yes. Well, so really, so that's what people want. They want so female speakers. This is I guess.
Female speakers are still 1.9% of all the speakers in the world. Before the pandemic, we were at 1.2, and right after the pandemic, we raised it up. It's not me. It's the brokerage of speakers and coaches who came out with the article that we are going to actually. This is $100 billion a year industry, which was going to make 13.2 billion more in 2022 and beyond. So there is so much room for speakers and entrepreneurs. And by the way, Dan, you're talking about sales, marketing, all of yourself and so on. Let me tell you, public speaking is still the number one next to referral and word of mouth. That is a very good way to sell your product, services, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting more clients, still public speaking is still number one. So, and it's so much easier.
Why is the percentage so low? That's a shockingly low number.
I know, and I've been. People are always asking every show I've been on. Everybody says that's pretty shocking. Are you sure that number is right? Well, first of all, we're talking about paid speakers. Second of all, women don't like to ask for the money, nor do they believe in themselves enough to get the money. And the only reason they're not getting it is because they're not asking for it. Very simple. So when we look at the percentages of women out there speaking, they're speaking for no fee or for free. Like I like to say no fee, but it's really not no fee. It costs them time and preparation and all the other stuff. And so, that's the number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, are there just more just by number? Are there more male speakers than female speakers?
There is more male speakers than female speakers.
There's more people that want to be.
There's a lot of people that want to be, and unfortunately, they're not doing it. They're just not out there. And by the way, guys, this is a cool statistics. There are 64,000 events per day in America, Canada, and the United States alone, virtually, and all the other type of conferences that pay speakers.
Wow.
One of my clients just texted me. She got a 20-minute gig virtually for $3,000. I told her I want 10 of those per day because I can.
Right.
Because I can do it. Right. So, and
74,000 a day.
A day. We're talking meetings, conferences, summits, all of it, right? I mean, corporations, training, all of that. Yes. And it's Canada and the United States only. We didn't even talk about the world.
Right.
So if people don't want to travel, they can go in their own backyard and get speaking gigs. But
Canada's really big with that as well. Canada's always been really big with speakers and events.
Yeah. I'm a Canadian. I know. I mean, like I'm a Canadian that became American. Yeah.
But you're an American citizen now.
Yes. and a Canadian and an
Boom.
Israeli. I have
That's
all.
right.
I have 3 citizens.
So you've got this book, Public
Yeah.
Speakers, You're Not All That, 12 Reasons Why Event Planners Won't Hire You. First of all, I love the title and the subtitle because it's just like, you know exactly what you're getting. And it feels very, now you can't give away all 12 on Dan Jordan Live because you want to sell books,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's part
Well,
of the
yes and no,
the
but
deal.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And you've covered a couple of these on here.
Yeah.
But what are some, with 64,000 a day happening? What are just a few other reasons why
Sure.
people aren't getting hired?
I'll give you the broad few. One of them is that they're not prepared. They don't have their stuff together. And some people who think they have it together, they don't have it in the way event planners want to see it. So that's a big deal, right? The second thing is they have what I call in the book the diva syndrome. Oh, they should contact me because I have the best message since sliced bread. It's just constant. I am. Frankly, they don't even care who you are. They don't care that you've been on Fox News and NBC and all that. They don't care about that. What they care is about you showing up on time and finishing on time. That's what they really care about. Like a lot of people go, well, what are people buying these days? And what kind of speakers are they looking for? They're not. You're not all that. That's
This
the
is
point.
gold. This is real gold for people that you just need to hear this stuff.
Right.
Keep on going. So they want to do that. So event planners want that. So how do you contact the event planners?
And that's another thing. They don't know how to talk to them. So they don't know how to contact them. They don't know how to reach out to them and what to say first, what to say second, what to say when they tell you they have no money. That's not true. They don't want to pay you. That's what you need to get over, right? Public speakers, you're not all that. They won't pay you because you're showing up in a way that they know you don't know what you're doing. And that's one of the things that I talk about in the book. I give a lot of resources in the book as well, that they don't have to hire me. I only want to work with people who are serious about this business. It's a business after all. It's not, let me try this for a week or two and see. It won't work. Because this, even Zig Ziglar said it best. Public speakers, we don't retire, we die. So, it's really, that's not my quote, it's his. Another thing that's,
and he did die. So he did die.
Actually,
the man doesn't lie.
I was supposed to be in Texas when he was speaking, and he died 4 days after that speech. I was supposed to be there. I missed my flight. It was horrible.
He taught Sunday school for years and years and years. You could just go there and you have to take a class, but you could hear Zig. Good old
When I was
Zig.
16, I read the book See You at the Top, but in French. Rendezvous au sommet. And I'll never forget it. That was one of my first books to read.
You see, Rendezvous au sommet. You say, je m'appelle Daniel Jourdan.
Yeah, Jourdan.
You guys are talking about me again, aren't you? You're talking about me.
No.
That's right.
I love what you said, Orly. It's like, so many speakers are like, look at me, and they think that they're selling themselves, but what they need to be doing is, this is a particular company that needs this type of speaker, and here's what I can do for you, person who's hiring me. Yes. And so they're not thinking about the other person, they're just thinking about themselves.
Right.
And look at all of the television shows that I've been on, and look at all of this, but they're not presenting something that is valuable to whoever would hire them.
Right. And think about this too. A lot of people say, well, I don't know how to virtually speak. I'm speaking at you right now. I'm looking at the iris. It's a practice, right? And we need to practice this. But the other thing you need to think about is, well, how does an anchor on TV do it? Because they're only looking at a red light in front of them, a camera guy behind the camera that they probably can't see because of all the lighting, and still give a great talk, like if they're talking to you in your living room, right? And so everybody can do this. It's not hard to do. But you know what the pandemic did for us? It sped up everything. It made it even better for all of us. 78% of events are still virtual today.
78%.
Yes. Well, live events are coming back, but very slowly. And there's 3 things you need to embrace about this industry. 1, it's not going anywhere. 2, virtual speaking is also going to be there for a long time and forever, maybe. And I believe it will be forever. And 3 is that the events are going to be hiring more often the same speaker for different, the same event planners will be hiring the same speaker for different events. During the pandemic, June of 2020, one of my clients calls me up and he's like, Orly, I'm speaking virtually tomorrow. And he's all panicky. And I'm like, hey, you got this. Just be yourself. He's an amazing storyteller. So I said, like, just go ahead and speak and let me know how it goes. So I kind of gave him a pep talk. And so the next day he spoke, and I heard that was Monday where he spoke. And Wednesday he calls me up. He's like, Orly, you're never going to believe what happened. And I'm like, okay, what happened? First of all, how was the talk? He's like, oh my God, it was awesome. They love me. And I said, okay, what happened? And he's like, they just hired me for 7 more.
Yeah.
Boom.
I've heard that a lot happening with people. In fact, Chris Stone, you've done stuff for IBM and companies like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's happening now that, you know, the in-person events are certainly back on. They maybe are, but it's not, it never will go back the way it was, right? And everyone talked about, oh, the new, you know, back to normal, right? And so what everyone's realizing is, well, I attended so many virtual things throughout the pandemic that either it worked for you or it didn't work for you. Right. And there's a lot of people that are like, I can't stand it. I need that in-person energy. And I'm one of those people, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But I have opted out of a lot of in-person events to attend the virtual. So there's a hybrid going on. And I think people are making choices. They're making choices because it's like, well, this is a whole week out of my life if I'm going to attend this thing. If I'm going to go across the country or whatever to attend this thing. And they're weighing what's going to work for them. Am I going to be able to network with people in person? Is it going to create value? Am I speaking at it? Can I get involved with it? Or can I just get what I need from being at home and living life on my terms and be able to consume and then also do some sort of virtual networking and check off those boxes. So people are making a lot of choices, but you're right. I think if you're a speaker and you have been used to just getting on stage, if you don't, get yourself together like Dan Jordan here in the center of your screen, where he goes grainy and has to go back off the screen and back on and speak French at times, then
I can't believe
you're
that.
just not.
Orly, is Chris Stone not the world's best producer? I mean, he just puts this together. It's so seamless.
Beautiful.
He never gets angry.
But Chris, to your point, on November 3rd, I spoke in Rome, and it was a hybrid event. It was live, and I couldn't make it to the event physically because I had my speakers training bootcamp in Miami, so I could not go. And so when I told them I cannot, and I can only speak on the 3rd because the bootcamp was 3, 4, and 5. So they said, okay, can you speak virtually? And I'm like, of course, if you're paying me, I'm gonna speak. So they made it happen. So I speak on the 3rd before my speaker training bootcamp started, and it went seamless and they loved it. So it's about you showing up for people and finding solutions that will make them look good. So to your point, Chris, again, it's about the event planner. It's not about the audience. The audience is going to be there no matter what. Some will like you, some will not like you. It's okay. Can't please everybody. And maybe not everybody needs your message, because when the student is ready, the teacher will come. So some will, some won't. Who cares who's next? And that's the way I live.
I love that. I love that.
It's so incredible. What it's done also by doing these virtual events that people are so used to, it makes the in-person events so much larger and so much more powerful. They really are. They're just bigger, and it's just
they're going to get smaller before they get bigger. But at least the impact and the I think what you're trying to say is that the connection with the audience is bigger.
Much, yeah. Right? There's a sense of gratitude.
Yeah.
Thank you. For the people like myself or Chris Stone, who says he needs to be around people, there's just gratefulness to, just to mix it up again. Well, this is perfect. So if you had to inspire or encourage somebody to do this for the first time or to get involved, what do you think are the first steps? What would you tell somebody to do? Tell people
you're a public speaker. Stop saying I'm a sales manager, or I'm a car dealer, or I'm a CPA and I'm a public speaker. Oh, really? What do you speak about? open the conversation. You teach that, Dan, right? Open the conversation, that it's not, open-ended, right? And you just have to open the conversation first. So tell people you're a speaker. I tell people, if you're on LinkedIn and your title says you're a CPA or a coach or financial planner, no, tell people you're a speaker. Because that's very important. If you want them to refer business to you, if to consider you to speak at an event, even if you have to just do it virtually, just tell people you speak. And so
it's do that first. Yeah. So you're a speaker and accountant.
Yeah. You're a speaker. What do you speak about? Accounting. Oh, really? And what kind of talk do you give? Well, how to prepare for taxes, or how to look for very important things during tax season, and not to start tax season in January, start tax season November, then November before tax season, And so I don't know. I'm not a CPA, guys, but I'm giving you, examples that are at the top of my head right now to make it a simplified way of explaining. You got to tell people you're a speaker. So that's number one. Number two, go out there and speak. Even create your own events. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with creating your own event. Let people know, publicize it, spread it around. I give a lot of tips on what to do with public speaking and what kind of behavior to have. If you're expecting 500 people to show up at your own event, that's not gonna happen. Just not.
I knew a guy once who had it was a great title, How to Get Butts in the Seats. It was for speakers on how to get people in the seat. It was a great thing. He did the whole process. One person showed up. It was the most embarrassing thing ever.
And there's a lot of that out there, though, Dan.
Yes, I know. But that happens. I've given a presentation to one. I got paid for it too. It was it was one. The guy said, and in any event, listen, there are some episodes, Orly Amor, where we just muddle through. There are some episodes where I actually learn something, but there are other episodes where I'm actually schooled in how to be more professional. And this is one of those episodes. So thank you. Thank you very much. This has been great. And for all you people out there who are aspiring to sell or to speak or to sell to more, I think that's brilliant. It's a lot easier to sell one to many than just one to one. Like Orly says, it's exhausting. This is the gal to connect to. All her information is right up there on the screen. Don't forget, give her a call. It's real easy. Just mention that you heard it here from the Deej. Chris Stone, once again, you just keep outdoing yourself.
I just love that we have someone on the show where Dan refers to you first name, last name. It's normally like Orly and Chris Stone, but it's not.
It's Orly Amor.
It's Orly Amor.
Oh,
Orly Amor.
It's one of those names you can't just say the first name. No one says Orly. Was Orly short for something like Oropolis?
No, actually, Orly means "you are my light" in Hebrew.
Oh, you are my, and Amor, of course,
know that.
Amor means love in Spanish.
Yeah.
And yes.
You are my light and love. You see,
and
everything
also
has
that's the name of my foundation. You Are My Light Foundation is building healing centers for rescued victims of human trafficking, sex, and labor slavery. I didn't even come up with that name. Did somebody on my executive board who never speaks writes in one of our meetings, he writes in the chat, Orly means, you are my light in Hebrew. And I'm like, so, it was like, because I was looking for a name for the foundation for months. And he said, well, why don't we call it You Are My Light Foundation? And everybody was like, I motioned to call it You Are My Light. So I can't take credit for it, but it was right in front of me the whole time. But anyway.
Well, Dan Jordan means it's a long title, but what it actually means is don't get lost too far in the woods. And so it's one of those.
What Chris Stone translates into?
Yeah, that's right.
Chris Stone in Hebrew is flushable wipes.
Okay. You guys are awesome. I wish nothing but good things to happen to you both for the rest of your life. Orly, stick around for 1 second after we're done here.
Sure.
And remember out there, eat well, live long, and prosper, and go get them today.
Go get him today.